Coffee is one of the most widely consumed beverages in the world, with an estimated 2.25 billion cups consumed every day. But where did this beloved drink come from, and how did it become so popular? The origins of coffee can be traced back to the ancient kingdom of Kaffa in Ethiopia, where legend has it that a goat herder named Kaldi discovered the properties of the coffea plant when he noticed that his goats became unusually energetic after eating the berries of this plant. Kaldi shared his discovery with the local monks, who immediately rejected them, throwing them into a fire. But when they smelled the roasting seeds, often referred to as coffee beans, but technically they are seeds, they then took the seeds from the fire, ground them up, and mixed them with a cup of water, thus creating the first cup of coffee. Monks would then use this new discovery to help them stay awake during religious ceremonies and long prayer sessions. So this story, although interesting, is closer to legend than it is historical fact, and we'll likely never really know the origin of coffee. Still, it's worth mentioning as coffee almost definitely originated in Ethiopia. Although the Ethiopian legend has monks roasting the beans by accident, more than likely Ethiopian tribes got the benefits of caffeine from chewing on the berries of this plant. From Ethiopia, coffee spreads to the Arabian Peninsula. Initially, like the Ethiopians, would chew the beans to get the effects of caffeine and also make drinks from them. But these drinks did not resemble the coffee that you're familiar with today. They called this drink kawa, and its first made an appearance around the 10th century. Historians agree that kawa is more than likely the origin of the word coffee in most languages today. Sometime around the 12th to 15th century, the people of the Arabian Peninsula first roasted coffee beans and brewed them, which greatly improved the flavor of the coffee. Because of this, the drink quickly gained popularity among the people of the Arabian Peninsula and was often traded by merchants. According to historians, the first confirmed mention of coffee resembling what it is today is at a monastery in Yemen in about mid-15th century. Around this time, it would make its way to the city of Mecca and shortly after spread throughout the Middle East and North Africa, with thousands of pilgrims visiting the holy city of Mecca each year from all over the world. Knowledge of this wine of Araby began to spread, and spread quickly. Initially, coffee had a heavy religious significance to most Muslims as it aided them in fasting during Ramadan and helped them stay awake for late-night prayer sessions. But coffee was not only enjoyed in the home, but also in many public coffee houses which began to appear in cities across the Near East. The popularity of the coffee houses was unequaled, and people frequented them for all kinds of social activities. Not only did the patrons drink coffee and engage in conversation, but they also listened to music, watched performers, played chess, and kept current on the news. Coffee houses quickly became such an important center for the exchange of information that they were often referred to as schools of the wise. In the 16th century, coffee made its way to Europe. Some people reacted to this new beverage with suspicion or fear, calling it the bitter invention of Satan. The local clergy condemned coffee when it came to Venice in 1615, causing so much controversy around the drink that Pope Clement VIII was asked to intervene. He decided to taste the beverage for himself before making a decision and found the drink so satisfying that he gave it his papal approval. This support from the Pope opened the door for Venice to establish its first coffee house, and it quickly spread to other parts of Europe as well. And by the 17th century, coffee houses had become a popular gathering place in cities such as London, Paris, and Vienna. In these coffee houses, people would gather to discuss politics, business, and any other news of the day. To aid their newfound addiction, countries in Europe began searching for a way to supply their own coffee via the coffea plant. And the Dutch were the first to succeed when a sneaky merchant was able to bring coffea seeds back from Yemen. This was no easy task though, as the people of Yemen would make sure that any bean that left the area was boiled or roasted so that it could not sprout. But regardless, he would succeed in his quest, and this merchant returned to the Netherlands and began growing the coffea plant. But it quickly became apparent that the cold climate of Northern Europe was not good for coffee production. Luckily for the people of Europe, the Dutch acquired many tropical colonies around the world at this time, and the Dutch East India Company would ramp up coffee production in these areas to provide Europeans a fix for their newfound addiction for many years to come. In the mid-1600s, coffee was brought to New Amsterdam, later called New York by the British. Though coffee houses rapidly began to appear in the area, tea continued to be the favorite drink of the New World until 1773, when the colonists revolted against the heavy tax on tea imposed by King George III. The revolt, as many of you know it, is called the Boston Tea Party, and this would forever change the American drinking preference from tea to coffee. In 1714, the mayor of Amsterdam presented a gift of a young coffee plant to King Louis XIV of France. The king ordered it to be planted in the Royal Botanical Garden in Paris. In 1723, a young naval officer obtained a seedling from the king's plant. Despite a challenging voyage, complete with horrendous weather, a saboteur who tried to destroy the seedling, and a pirate attack, he managed to transport it safely to Martinique using his personal water ration to keep it alive. Once planted, the seedling not only thrived, but it's credited with the spread of over 18 million coffee trees on the island of Martinique over the next 50 years. Even more incredible is that this seedling was the parent of all coffee trees throughout the Caribbean and South and Central America. The famed Brazilian coffee owes its existence to Francisco de Melo Paleta, who was sent by the Emperor of French Guiana to get coffee seedlings. The French were not willing to share, but the French governor's wife, captivated by his good looks, gave him a large bouquet of flowers before he left. Buried inside these flowers were enough coffee seeds to begin what is today a billion-dollar industry. Missionaries and travelers, traders and colonists continued to carry coffee seeds to new lands, and coffee trees were planted worldwide. Plantations were established in magnificent tropical forests and on rugged mountain highlands. Some crops flourished while others were short-lived. New nations were established on coffee economies, fortunes were both made and lost, and by the end of the 18th century, coffee had become one of the world's most profitable export crops. After crude oil, coffee is the most sought-after commodity in the world today. Speaking of today, coffee is grown in more than 50 countries around the world, with the top producing being Brazil, Vietnam, Colombia, and Indonesia. And it's no longer limited to just a morning drink. It's also used as a flavor for many foods and drinks such as ice cream, candies, cocktails, and countless more. So next time you enjoy a cup of coffee, take a moment to think about the rich history and cultural significance of this beverage. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.